Person, artificial person. Once again, private person versus natural person. Again, I've addressed this slightly in the introduction, but the private person versus natural person. The Russ Prisky courses, Canadian Rights and Freedoms course, and the Paradigm Education Group were teaching the natural person concept, which I still hold to be a valid concept, legally recognized. It is a natural person is used throughout federal law and in some aspects of provincial law within Canada, and it's also throughout most legal systems in the world, common law and civil law. What I did find is that the courts have become very biased against the term natural person, and was trying to figure out why, and upon further research I found that there is a distinction and a separation between natural person and private person. I noticed that private person was in existence in Canada up to a certain point in federal law, when it then disappeared from federal law and they were converted into a different term called natural person. There is actually a separation between the private person and natural person in federal law depending on which jurisdiction, provincial or federal. In a strictly provincial jurisdiction, the term private person is used exclusively. In the federal jurisdiction, the term natural person has generally, most of the time, replaced the use of the word private person. Now, the reason that happened is because we are a bijural country. We have the civil law in Quebec and the common law in the rest of the country. And the federal legislation had to be applicable to both jurisdictions because the federal law is supposed to apply to both jurisdictions. So they started a process of identifying the federal laws that did not comply with the civil law because the terms that they used were provincial or civil common law only terms, and they created this bijural terminology process where they went through the federal laws, took out all of the common law specific terms, and found a neutral term that could apply to both jurisdictions. So they replaced private person in federal law with natural person in most cases, and if you look in provincial law in Canada, it still has private person because it is exclusively within the private jurisdiction of the province for privacy rights, property rights, and civil rights. But is it still a person? It's still a person. Both of them are persons. Yes, they're still within the system, and that's okay if you understand the system. So there is more information with regards to biology terminology process. There's also further education within the more advanced training. But natural person lives and exists in both civil law and common law. Private person exists only in common law, and if you use private person when you're referring to yourself, then you're announcing to whoever you're doing business with or addressing that you are staying in the common law, and they can't make any confusing assumptions with regards to you being potentially a civil law natural person. That's my understanding application of it, and feel free to check out our downloads to see what else is there to support this, and check out our further training on this. It's a fascinating distinction.